Hello again, welcome back to an hour of yoga for beginners. My name is Morella. Before we start, I invite you to take a good sitting position, either sitting with your legs crossed like I am, pressing your sit bones into the floor, and sitting tall, move your ears back. You can also sit with one leg out like that if it's more comfortable for you today. I invite you to bring your hands to your heart, close your eyes, turn in, bring your awareness to your breath. A long, deep breath into your abdominal area. And then make your exhalation even longer. And twice more. And to ground ourselves today, drop ourselves into the core of our very being, we open with 3 Ohms. Exhale, inhale. Om. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Release your hand. Word of the day is kindness, and in a world where you can be anything, being kind is the key. So a question for you today in your practice is to remember the last time you were kind to someone and how that felt. And then, of course, the opposite side of that is remember the last time someone was kind to you and how that felt. And that energy has the ability to change our practice and change our lives. So more about this later on in the practice. Come and lie down on your bellies. Bring your arms to your sides, turn your palms up and bring the side of your face to the floor and rest. And just be kind to yourself on this Sunday evening. And remember one kind thing that happened today. Keeping our hands on the floor, lift our head and shoulders off the floor, press the tops of your feet on the floor. Press your pubic bone into the floor, lift your head and shoulders even higher. Come back to the floor and bring the other side of your face to the floor and rest again. And this time, turn the kindness on yourself. Be kind to yourself. So put down the critical thoughts, the critical memories, and treat yourself like a 3-year-old child, and you're looking at yourself as an adult to a 3-year-old child. And what would you say to that child to be kind to it? Moving into topsy-turvy superhero. Stretch your arms out in front, legs out behind. Lift your right arm and the opposite leg up off the floor. Stretch through your fingertips. Lift your head and shoulders, gaze straight ahead. And switch to the other side. Left hand, arm off the floor, right leg. Press the outside edge of your right hand into the floor. And release, and bring your head to your hands and rest again. Hands under your forehead. Sink into the floor. Receive your breath. And full superhero. Stretch your legs out behind you, stretch your arms out in front, lift everything off the floor. Squeeze your legs together. And release, and come onto your hands and knees. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Hands shoulder width apart. Grip the floor with your fingertips. Exhale, round your back up. And inhale and lift your head and look up and sink down between your shoulder blades. Body following breath. Exhale, round up. Inhale, sink down. Lovely undulating flow up and down your spine. Moving into down dog, move your knees back one hand's pace, turn your toes under, lift your hips up. Separate your hands wider than shoulders, grip the floor at your fingertips, parallel your index fingers. Engage your core. Externally rotate your upper arms, which is the soft fleshy bit of your upper arms or the inside of your elbows, towards the front of the mat. And bring your dog for a walk by gently bending one knee quite deeply and stretching the other leg, stretching back into your heel. Move with your breath. Staying up on your toes, pushing into your heels. And come back onto your hands and knees, coming into child's pose, but sit back on your heels, clasp your hands behind your back and lift your arms up to vertical. Bring your forehead to the floor. Squeeze your heels together, flare your toes, sink deep into your hips. Stretch your knuckles up towards the ceiling. Invite your shoulder blades onto your back. Inhale Release your arms and come and sit with your legs out in front of you. And coming into boat pose with knees bent. Clasp your hands behind your head, interlace your fingers. Lean back slightly, keeping your inner heels together, your inner knees. Lift your chin, squeeze your elbows forward and lean back, and see, can you slightly lift your toes off the floor. Moving into leg lifts, come and lie on your back. Interlace your fingers behind your head. Bring your elbows into the side of your head. Lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Bring your chin to your chest. Bend your knees. Bring your knees to your chest. Inhale, stretch your legs up. Exhale. Inhale, lower your legs to the floor. If you have a sore back, do it with knees bent or with one leg at a time. So exhale as you bring them up. Inhale. Exhale. And see if you can do 8 of them. Endeavouring to bring our knees to our elbows, keeping our legs straight. Keep squeezing our inner legs towards each other. Lower your feet to the floor. Make your way into bridge pose by bending your knees. Place your heels in front of your hips. Bend your elbows. Point your fingertips at the ceiling. Point palms towards each other. And squeeze your elbows in close to your rib cage. Press down with the heels into the floor. Press down with your elbows into the floor. Inhale and lift your hips up. Make sure that your toes are turned and pointed towards the short end of your mat, but they're not pointing out towards the long side of your mat. Press your head into the floor, squeeze your shoulder blades together on your back, and see, can you float your hips up a little bit higher by pushing into your heels. Tighten your glutes. Lower your hips to the floor, make your way up to sitting. Stretch your legs out in front. And bend your right knee and bring your heel to your hip. If you have a block, you can place it under your buttock, your right buttock, or under your left buttock. So, heel to hip, hip in line with knee. Inhale, lift your arms up. And exhale and hinge forward. And just gaze beyond your toes. And then as you inhale, just walk your hands forward. And as you exhale, just sink down. Press through your heel, draw your toes back. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, sink down. Inhale, come back up to centre and switch to the other side. Stretch your left leg out, stretch your right leg out, curl your left leg in because I'm mirror imaging you at the minute. Bring your heel to your hip, squeeze your knees together, sit tall, inhale your arms up, exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, stretch. Stretch forward, exhale, sinking down. Keep your outstretched leg active by pressing the back of the thigh into the floor, push through your heel, draw your toes back. Walk your hands back, make your way into squatting pose. Come onto your feet, turn your feet out slightly, and turn your toes towards the long edges of your mat. And then feet wider than hips and just sinking down. And place your hands on the floor, gaze out in front. Keeping our feet wide apart, come and stand up. Keep your feet wide apart, keep your toes turned out. Bend your knees, sink down. Knees over ankles. Lift your arms up, hands arms in line with shoulders. Goddess pose. Move your knees apart, back straight. Inhale, press down, stand up, lower your arms, come into mountain, hands by your side, feet together, more difficult, feet inner hip width apart, more doable. Press down equally with the four corners of your feet into the floor, move your ears back, broaden across your collarbones, squeeze your shoulder blades together and down your back, stretch arms down, stretch fingers down and just turn in. Observe your breath. Coming into forward fold with knees bent. Again, more doable, feet inner hip width apart, or more difficult, feet together. Inhale your arms up, bend your knees, hinge forward. Place your hands on the floor under your shoulders, lift your head, look up. Inhaling in, and then exhale and fold forward, keeping a bend in your knees. Walk your hands back, line up your fingernails with your toenails. Float your hips forward a little bit. Press with the heel of your hands into the floor and begin to press the backs of your knees away from you. Inhale, walk your hands forward, lift your head, look up, place your hands under your shoulders. Exhale, hinging forward, folding in. Inhale, walk your hands forward, place them under your shoulders, lift your head, look up. Exhale, hinging forward again, folding in. Keep pressing the heel of your hands into the floor. Bend your knees, place your hands on your hips, squeeze your elbows back behind you. Inhale, press down with your feet into the floor and stand up. Coming into crescent pose. Inhale, lift your arms up, clasp your right bicep with your left hand, move your hips to the right, your torso to the left, be as sideways as possible, not forgetting to lift your gaze. Try not to collapse into the side you're leaning into. Press down equally with both feet into the floor, squeeze your shins in, engage your quads, tighten your glutes, engage your core. Inhale, come back up and switch to the other side. Inhale and be as sideways as possible in the other direction. Inhale, come back up, lower your arms, moving into power pose, head to knee, feet inner hip width apart. Inhale your arms up, hands, palms pointing towards each other. Invite the head of the shoulder bone back into the sockets. Squeeze your shoulder blades together on your back. Bend your knees, lower your hips, round your back. Bring your forehead to your knees, sink back in your throne, lift your arms out in front, stretch them out. Inhale, press down, stand up. Coming back into mountain, close your eyes, turn in. Moving into power pose, inhale your arms up by your ears, point palms towards each other, bend your knees, sink down, push into your heels, keep your back straight, engage your core. Knees in line with hips. And then fold into forward fold, place your hands under your shoulders, knees bent, inhale, lift your head, look up, turn your sit bones up and begin to straighten. Press the backs of your knees away from you. Walk your hands forward, walk your feet back, and coming into our first plank of the day. Float your shoulders over your wrists, hands wider than shoulders. Come up onto the tops of your feet. If this is too much for you, you can also do it on your knees like this. Keep your core nice and bright. So, yogi's choice. Lower onto your knees, chest, chin, and coming into 8-angle pose. Lower your chest to the floor, your chin to the floor. Walk your hands back until your forearms are vertical. Elbows pointed at the ceiling, hands close into your ribs. Turn your toes under, lift your hips up. And then stretch your legs out behind you. I'm coming into Cobra. Inhale, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. And now lift your palms up. Keep your forearms vertical, keep your feet on the floor. Moving into down dog, come onto your hands and knees, turn your toes under and lift your hips up, hands wider than shoulders, externally rotate your upper arms, Parallel your index fingers, grip the floor with your fingertips, press the heel of your hand into the floor, soften your heart, turn your sit bones up, lift your hips even higher, and from that point there, inviting your heels to come closer to the floor. Looking at a point between your thumbs. And moving into side plank, walk your right hand into the middle of the mat and pivot your ankles to the right, and then lift your foot halfway up the front of the mat and lift your top arm up. Press the sole of your right foot towards the floor as if to put the whole of the sole of the foot on the floor. Roll your left ribs back, your left shoulder back. And what is your breathing doing? Lower that left hand, make your way back through down dog, and then pivot your ankles to the left and lift your right foot halfway up the front of the mat, turn your toes towards the long side of the mat, and inhale and lift your top arm up. If your shoulders are giving you bother, you can also put your top hand on your hip like so. Lift your chest up, look up. Bring the sole of the left foot towards the floor. Make sure your left shoulder is floating over your left wrist. And lower your hand to the floor, step back through down dog and come into child's pose. Sit back in your heels, arms by your sides, head to the floor. Turn your palms up, sink down, receive your breath. Inhale and come and kneel up. Knees inner hip width apart. Lift your left arm by the side of your ear and clasp your left wrist with your right hand. Move your hips to the left, your torso to the right, be as sideways as possible. So you're drawing your left wrist up towards the ceiling. Engage your core. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. Lift your chin. Inhale, come back up and switch to the other side. Clasp your right wrist with your left hand. Move your hips to the right, your torso to the left. Be as sideways as possible. Inhale, come back up and coming into lunge pose. Step your right foot forward, place your hands either side of your front foot, lift your head, look up. Front shin vertical, knee over ankle. Press the top of the back foot into the floor, flare your toes. Come up onto the tops of your fingers. Or if this, you could also put your hands on blocks as well. And then move both hands to the inside of your front foot and walk them forward. Place your hands shoulder width apart. Allow your head to drop. More doable, keep your back knee on the floor. More difficult, turn your toes under and lift your back knee off the floor. Make sure your right knee is tracking over your right ankle. Make sure your back heel is vertical over your toes. Engage your core, lift the back of your back knee up if you have your knee off the floor. Lower your knee to the floor and switch sides. Front foot back, back foot forward. Place your hands either side of your front foot. Lift your head, look up. Make sure your front knee is tracking over your ankle, not your toes. Press the top of your back foot into the floor. Flare your toes. Come up onto the tops of your fingers. Walk your hands to the inside of your front foot, walk them forward, hands shoulder width apart, grip the floor with your fingertips. More doable, keep your back knee on the floor. More difficult, turn your toes under, lift the back of your back knee up. Stretch your front knee away from your back heel. Release your knee to the floor and switch feet again. Left knee back, right foot forward, knee over ankle. Lift your right arm, I beg your pardon, lift your left arm, wrap the right underneath, hug the midline. Keeping that, move your hips forward and down, move your front foot forward. Then keeping that, lift your arms up so that your arms are parallel to the ceiling. Your forearms, point your elbows towards the ceiling and look up. Make sure your front knee is lining up with the root of your second toe. Press the top of your back foot into the floor. If you can't get the wrap on your arms, simply bring your elbows together, your palms together. And gently release. Lower your hands to the floor and switch feet. Front foot back, back foot forward. Set yourself up, torso upright. Lift your right arm, wrap the left underneath, hug the midline. And again, if that's not available to you, just simply bring your elbows together and your hands together and lift them like so. Some people have tighter shoulders than others. Keeping that, move your hips forward and down. Might need to move your front foot forward. Lift your forearms up. Look up at the ceiling. Endeavouring to make our forearms parallel to the ceiling. Press the top of your back foot into the floor. Inhale, come back to centre. And come and sit in cross-leg pose. Sukhasana. Cross your ankles in your most favourite way. Press your sit bones into the floor. Place your hands on your knees. Sit tall. Close your eyes, turn in. Now switch the cross of your legs to your least favourite way and do the same again. And coming into reverse table, bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips and walk your hands back a couple of inches behind you. Press down with your hands into the floor, press down with your feet into the floor, float your hips up. And when you think you've gone far enough, see if you can float them another 3 or 4 inches higher, because it is there. Press your heels into the floor, stretch your knees away from your hips, look up towards the ceiling. And gently release. Coming into staff pose, stretch your legs out in front of you. More doable, feet inner hip width apart, more difficult feet together. And then roll your inner thighs towards each other by placing your right hand on the inside of your right thigh and your left hand on the outside and rolling them in, and doing the same on the opposite side. And then grabbing your butt up there, that soft flesh at the back, and just drawing it out so that your sit bones are firmly planted on the floor. Inhale, lift your arms up, and exhale, hinge forward. And again, here you can use a strap if it's available for you. Keep squeezing your legs towards each other, engaging your core, and you're folding forward. Press the backs of your thighs into the floor. And always gazing just beyond your toes to lengthen our spine. Inhale, come back up and come into half fire log pose. Stretch your left leg out and cross your right ankle over your left knee. And you might want to pad something over your under your ankle there, because sometimes it can be uncomfortable. Keeping that, inhale, lift your arms up. And again, you can use a strap and loop it over the sole of your left foot. And keep both feet active by pushing through the heels and drawing the toes back. On every inhalation, stretching forward, gazing several feet beyond your outstretched leg, and every exhalation, sinking down. Inhale, back up to centre and switch to the other side. Stretch your right leg out, cross your left ankle over your right knee. Inhale, your arms up. Exhale, hinge forward and clasp your ankle. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, again, folding down, folding in. Softening your elbows. Just careful where the gaze of your eyes land. Inhale, back to centre and coming into seated angle. You might like to sit up on the block for this if you have one, or a pillow, or roll up the end of your mat. Just so it enables you to turn your sit bones up. Stretch your legs wide apart, as wide as you can, and you're just leaning forward and reaching for your ankles. If you can get your feet catch your feet. You could also use a strap in each hand if that helps you. And again, gazing beyond your soft gaze several feet out in front of you. Push through your heels, press the backs of your thighs into the floor. Engage your quads. Press the backs of your knees into the floor. Inhale, come all the way back up. And then bend your left knee and bring your heel towards your upper inner right thigh, but leave a space between the sole of the foot and the inner right thigh. And again, you might want to use a strap. Again, it's a nice thing to turn the thigh of the outstretched leg in towards the centre and grabbing that little bit of flab that's behind so that your sit bones are firmly on the floor or on the block, and then turn out over your outstretched leg and hinging forward. And again, place your hands where it's comfortable for you. So we're growing each pose, we don't impose the pose on the body. And as we sit and patiently wait, the body opens and it gives. It lengthens, it softens, the fascia stretches, and we come into the fullest possible manifestation of the pose for you, in your body. Inhale back to center, and noticing that on every inhalation we do, that we're bringing in energy that nourishes us, comes right into the core of our being. Stretch your left leg out and then hinge forward. Inhale, bringing in that energy, nourishing the very core of you, and then as you exhale, that manifestation that you are in your body, putting that back out to the world. But it's very important to nourish ourselves. And many of us don't nourish our inner space, that place of peace, that place of quietness, that place of stillness. Engage your quad. Sometimes our knees are inclined to lock out in this, and to avoid that, engage in the quad. Gets you around that little problem. And come back up to center, and sit on your right hip with your knees out to the left, and cross the sole so that the top of your left foot is bisecting the arch of the bottom foot. And then place your right hand on top of your left knee, place the other hand behind you, sit upright, lift your chest, stretch your spine, then look over your right shoulder. Be as upright as possible, and visualize the spine, the twist coming from way down the right hand side of your abdomen. On every inhalation, stretching, sitting taller. On every exhalation, drawing the left shoulder back, the left ribs back. Back to center, and switch to the other side. Sitting on your left hip, stacking your knees, and place the sole of the right foot across the inner arch of the left foot. Place your left hand on your knee, sitting upright. Place your right hand behind you. Look over your front shoulder. Inhale, sitting tall. Exhale, twisting. Back to center and coming into archer pose. Bend your right knee and clasp your right big toe with the first two fingers of your right hand. Lean forward and catch the outside edge of your left foot, of the outstretched leg, and then shift over onto your left hip and lift your right heel off the floor. And draw your right knee back in archer pose. Maybe if I come face to you a little bit, so shifting over, shin parallel to the ceiling, and draw the knee back as far as you can. And release. And switch to the other side. Stretch your right leg out, bend your left knee, clasp the left toe with the first two fingers of your left hand, catch the outside edge of your right foot, shift over onto your right hip and lift your left foot off the floor, shin parallel to the ceiling, draw your knee back. And release, and moving into fish pose. Bend your right knee and bring the outside edge of your right knee to the floor and lift your left foot and cross it over your right knee and place your left foot on the floor. Place your left hand on the floor, lift your right arm up, cross your body and bring the outside of your elbow to the outside of your knee. Press your sit bones into the floor. Sit tall, lift your chest, stretch your spine, draw your left shoulder back, your left ribs back, and look back behind you. Press knee into elbow, elbow into knee. And again, initiating the twist from low down on the right hand side of your abdomen. On every inhalation, coming tall. On every exhalation, getting a little bit more opening in the twisting around at the back. And release and switch over onto the other side. Bend your left knee, allow your left knee to come to the floor and lift your right foot and place it outside your left knee on the floor. Place your right hand behind you, cross your body with your left hand arm, bring your elbow to your knee into your elbow, and press your sit bones into the floor. Draw your right shoulder back, your right ribs back, sit tall, inhale, stretch up, exhale, twist. On every inhalation, sitting tall, and every exhalation, twisting. Inhale back to center, and come and lie on your backs. Coming in to thread the needle, bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips. Lift your right foot and bring the outside edge of your right foot on top of your left knee. Then roll over onto your left hip and allow your left knee to come to the floor, the sole of your right foot on the floor. Place your arms in goalpost arms. by bringing them out level with your shoulders, bend your elbows, turn your palms up towards the ceiling, and look away from your knees by lifting your head off the floor, turning it and putting it on the floor, the side of your face, right hand side of your face on the floor. Press your right foot into the floor. Inhale, come back to centre and switch to the other side. And just notice the difference in both hips at this stage. And then lift your left foot, place it on top of your right knee. Allow your knee to drop off out to the side. Roll over onto your right hip. Bring the sole of your foot to the floor and look back towards, away from your knees by lifting your head off the floor, turning your neck and placing the left hand side of your face on the floor. Inhale, come back to centre and bringing your feet into double diamond, bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips. Then walk your feet out to the edges of the mat and allow your knees to come down to the right hand side. And again, once again, looking away from your knees by lifting your head off the floor, turning it and putting it back on the floor again. And have quite a good bend on your knees. And switch to the other side. Allow your knees to come down and look away from your knees again. And come into reclined child's pose. Bend your knees, bring your knees into your chest, hug them in and roll gently from side to side. Make both feet active. Just really enjoying that gentle massage on your spine. And again, turning those kind thoughts on yourself and noticing how good that feels, that sensation in your body, associated with kind thoughts. And when you're ready, it's time to move into relaxation. Stretch your legs out, stretch your arms out, turn your palms up, hands by your side, shoulder blades on your back. Sink down into the floor. The floor is receiving you, and you receive your breath. Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop, that the passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness, as the deepest thing inside. You must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. I invite you to begin to deepen your breathing. Bring your attention back to your body and onto the mat. Gently awaken your body by moving your hands, your feet. Perhaps give yourself a stretch, or you might like to simply stay here. When you are ready, bend your knees, roll to one side and just pause and imagine someone being kind to you one last time. And then bring your hands together, close your eyes, turn in. To honour ourselves, each other, and the practice, we close with one Om. Exhale, inhale. Thanks for practicing, thanks for coming to practice. See you on the mat.